MarketWaves After Hours with Uber Freight. We announced the launch of our Freight Futures Exchange next March. Michael Lewis talks with Craig Fuller at our conference. We announced the Best in Show winners from Demo Day and the Freight.Tech 25 winners. I'm JP.
And I'm Chad.
And we talk about all these issues and more on this special episode of What the Truck, coming to you live from Grapevine, Texas, at the Gaylord Texan Resort and Convention Center.
It's great being here, and we are joined also tonight by Executive Editor John Kingston. John, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to finally make it on the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great
cool
to have you here. We got the fountain going for some ambient noise. We're sitting here at Texas Station, a giant sports bar, because you know why it's giant?
Everything is bigger in Texas.
You guys have learned it.
Yeah. Dude, how about that party last night?
Wow. What did we call it? The After Hours?
Yeah, MarketWaves After Hours with Uber Freight.
Oh,
so
Uber
cool.
Freight helped us put on a show.
It was fun. I got
great.
twisted. But I mean,
is that what you millennials say?
But the band, Emerald City Band, was awesome. It was so cool.
The world's best cover band.
After being in this industry for like a year now, like at our events, like everywhere I go, I see people I know. It was so fun to hang out with them and talk. See Bill Dreiger playing drums on stage. That
was a highlight. John Bowes playing the bongos to AC/DC. You shook me all night long. What could go wrong?
We got in the photo booth with Chris Kirchner. It was a great time.
It was a really fun night. It's so fun to be here. It was a great show. That Texas chili was good. And the old fashions, the Uber Freight old fashions with a little mezcal put in there, giving it like kind of a smoky aftertaste. Like it was special. You know, it was special.
It was nice.
And right now, what are you drinking, JP?
I am drinking this hazy IPA.
Yeah, we're drinking you've joined the dark side. Congratulations. We're having a Sierra Nevada hazy.
I don't know.
It's hazy, and it's like a NEPA.
Two Hearted wasn't on the menu.
And it's a 6.7 ABV. And John, what are you drinking?
Shinerbach Dark.
Shinerbach. So it's from Texas. So
right.
Like when in Texas, do as the Texans do.
All right.
Okay. So let's get into this, buddy.
Yeah. So John, you moderated a panel with Doug Waggoner from Echo, Paul Cosenza from Nodal Exchange, CEO of Nodal Exchange, and Craig, all about surviving freight market volatility. Can you tell us a little bit about that conversation and just your kind of perspective on?
Well, the focus tended to be turned pretty quickly from volatility to the FreightWaves Freight Futures contract, and the news today is that we announced that it will launch on the Nodal Exchange on March 29th.
That was big news.
That's really exciting. The one thing I would say about it is that there has never been a better time to launch a contract. Everybody, I think, is kind of battered, certainly on the shipper side, battered by volatile freight rates. I think 3PL, some of them have probably taken advantage of it, and others have probably gotten hit by it. But that's not really the point. Even if you're a carrier and you've made a lot of money on this, you've got to realize now that you've had an introduction of volatility into the market that you probably had never seen. I hate to say never, but not for a while, and
right.
and rates at high levels. When they were really high, you probably thought to yourself, "Man, I'd love to lock in some of these the future."
Right.
So this is the one thing about the freight futures contract is that the ground has never been more perfect to launch one.
How are they? One of the things they talked about, John, was how is trucking a commodity or not? What did Craig have to say about that?
I mean, the thing is that, and I think it was really Doug who said this, and I kind of made the point too.
Yeah.
All commodities have some slight differences. First of all, in something like oil, there's quality differences, but that's not the thing. So let's say I'm an oil refiner, and I'm buying the same grade of crude from 8 or 10 suppliers. Some of them are going to have inefficient credit departments. Some of that will have great customer service. There's more to just saying, okay, give me it. It doesn't matter. Just give it to me. right? There's always kind of a background.
Right.
And trucking, there's probably a little bit more of that than some other commodities. But still, ultimately, as somebody says, it is a product that it's a 53-foot container on the back
Doug
of
Waggoner
a truck.
said that,
And that's going to be, I hate to put a percentage on it, 95% of what you're buying. Yes, the other 5% matter. How efficient is the trucking company that you are getting the supply from? But ultimately, it is a commodity. Nothing is a perfect commodity that there's absolutely no difference in the transaction. So I think it is a commodity.
Doug pointed out that the growing proportion of all loads that are handled by brokers kind of suggests that shippers view trucking as a fungible commodity. They don't really care who it is that's driving the truck. They just need access to a steady, reliable supply. The other, speaking of oil, the other kind of cool takeaway quote that I wanted to mention was when Craig said, it speaks to your point about it being a perfect time to launch a freight futures contract. He said, we've had our OPEC moment with the ELD mandate, with the synchronization of extraordinary demand along with tight capacity, really just was a shock, honestly, to the overall economy. I mean, on Wall Street, they were talking about it every day. It was on the front page of the New York Times. It was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So I really do think that this market has rattled so many people, and it's been so extraordinary and unpredictable that people are open to, even if you're a carrier and you caught the upside of this, it's still, people couldn't believe what was happening. People said over and over again to me, there are 20 years in trucking, it's never been this strong. Well, obviously we know that's not going to last forever.
And you talk about the OPEC movement. So when you sit there and you model oil supply and demand, let's just say the supply side, what do you model? You model how much is Saudi Arabia going to produce, how much is Russia going to produce, how much is Colombia going to produce. You do all that modeling, and there's knowledge out there about fields that are coming online, normal depletion rates of other fields. When you model trucking supply, you have to model aging population. You have to model if people don't want to be away from their families. You have to model somebody made a ton of money in the first 3 weeks of the month, and now I think I'll sit home. I mean, this is so different than modeling an agricultural commodity or modeling, let's say, a petroleum commodity, which I think probably in trying to figure out what the supply is going to be a lot easier than trying to determine the supply of something where there's just so much human involvement. And I think that ultimately adds to the volatility, and as a result of that, really argues in favor of a contract like this.
John, what are the implications for the spot market and brokers?
Well,
are there any?
Well, I mean, I think those are really two different questions. I would say that in something like oil or agricultural products, most of it doesn't get done on the spot market, but the spot market really is what you learn in Economics 101. The price of anything is set by the marginal widget, the last unit sold. Whether it's a bushel of wheat, a barrel of oil, a house in a neighborhood, whatever. Okay, so that spot market will always be there, and it will find its way, we hope, to be very transparent, through a freight futures market. As the knowledge of what's going on in the spot market makes it onto the nodal exchange. As far as brokers, I can't imagine that any of them are not sitting there. They probably have had numerous meetings. They've probably got task forces in house and saying, should we trade this thing?
Right.
So
yeah, and I think it can be one more service that they offer to their shipper customers, and maybe they're also used to handling, helping out carriers, taking care of carriers as best they can, and maybe they could help on the short side as well. The other thing I guess I just wanted to mention is that Sam Tibbs, one of our data scientists, is doing some really interesting work modeling trucking capacity, trying to get ahead of the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers by looking at diesel consumption daily per region or per market. So, obviously there's, other things that consume diesel, but we're working on controlling for those other factors. construction uses diesel a lot, like to run generators. Construction is also very seasonal, so it's difficult, but it's something we're looking at actively.
Yeah,
it's all about the data, and that's one of the themes of the conference is data. But there's a sense that the more data you begin to have and know how to implement, the more it's like knowledge. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know very much, and the more data you have, the more you realize data's the new oil, as we're. So it's fascinating what is happening on that front.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about that extraordinary conversation this morning between Michael Lewis and Craig?
Yeah. So best-selling author Michael Lewis, joined us, and of course, he's famous for Moneyball and
Moneyball, The Big Short,
yep.
The Blind Side, Liar's Poker, Flash Boys.
And most recently, he just came off a book tour of The Fifth Risk. In fact, he just finished that book tour, and he's now come to join us. And the reason that we had Michael Lewis in the first place is because of his data perspective.
Yeah, it's data. It's how information asymmetries distort markets. It's a lot of his work, even the sports stuff, is about the value of alternative data, crafting new metrics to properly assess the value of assets. It's about the difficulty of understanding risk. It's all, and it's about how markets use information, and that's really what FreightWaves is all about.
And while he doesn't have a background in transportation, boy, it was fun to hear him ask inquisitive questions.
He clearly was interested in the whole idea that this is a market ripe to be disrupted by knowledge of more transportation data. That was not a show. You could tell he was interested.
Which is also like what he was doing with Moneyball in the first place, right? Apparently, according to their conversation, Billy Beane didn't even know that he was the subject of Moneyball until
the book came out.
Well, it was about to come out, and I think he gave him a heads up. And it's funny. Here's the story. Billy Beane was not upset that he had become the subject of the story.
I bet not.
Because not for what Michael Lewis was afraid of. Michael Lewis was afraid that Billy Beane would be upset because this could disrupt it. Like if he reveals all of his secret sauce, that everybody in baseball is suddenly going to adopt these metrics.
Right, they lose their competitive advantage.
Right, but that wasn't why he was upset. He was upset because he was on the record as using the word fuck many times, and that he was afraid that his mother would be very upset with him and his use of language, and that was sincerely it.
I wonder how many baseball dugouts Billy Beane's mother has hung out in.
I wonder too. But Michael Lewis said, "Well, I thought it was because of the I was revealing your secret sauce," and he said there was a pause. And then Billy said, "You don't think anybody's going to really in baseball is going to read your book?"
Yeah. That's funny. They all read it.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's fascinating. What are some other like anecdotes or analogies that Michael Lewis drew between his previous work and transportation and logistics?
Oh, I'm trying to remember now. It's just a general message that data makes its way into various industries, and those with the best data will ultimately prevail. That was the big message. And
he did hit on weather and government, but go ahead. I didn't mean
No, I mean that was pretty much it. So
he became fascinated with how like the power of data and predictive weather forecasting, and how like AccuWeather actually has started to because there's so much data now with weather that we can predict so precisely like weather patterns that over the past 30 years it's been transformative.
Right.
But now there are actually like AccuWeather and some other powerful players.
Well, it's pretty much AccuWeather.
Can control and disrupt the supply of data by not letting it be revealed as much, and so like that's kind of that becomes an issue in the world of data.
Yeah, that sounds
disrupting and
quite evil, actually.
Well,
I mean,
he pointed out the NRA really controls a lot of data on gun violence.
Right. They got Congress to pass the law.
They had stopped, right? Because he talked about some data that had come out and police data that showed that if a police officer dealt with a suicide or a domestic violence incident, that they were more likely to have their own incident, something improper in police behavior soon after that. And that this kind of stuff, has kind of been suppressed, and it's not really that well known.
And we know some people in our own business media industry that try to place walls around data, but one of our mottos, it's the motto of the internet. Information wants to be free. Again, the name of our first conference and our inaugural event was transparency, and so it's cool to kind of get that affirmation and validation from somebody like Lewis, who is so far-sighted and so just insightful and interesting.
Yeah, I was inspired. Yeah, that was really cool. And what else do we have on tap?
Yeah, so we had a demo day on Monday. We had 40 live technology demonstrations from everything from tiny underfunded startups to some of the largest transportation companies in North America, like JB Hunt. It was really cool. It's a really neat format. 7-minute live demos,
really
no PowerPoint,
exciting.
No vaporware.
Yeah.
And then when your time is up, there's a bell and the lights turn on and your mic gets cut.
Let's say who the winners were.
Yeah, and so out of those 40 companies, the entire audience at MarketWaves, all the attendees, about a little over 1,000 people, voted for the 4 best in show winners
from that day. We covered all of those companies, by the way, in 4 rounds of articles. Every single company was noted what their presentation was about.
Right.
And while we don't order the winners, we call them best in show. They were Shipwell, Redwood Logistics, Platform Science, and JB Hunt.
Yeah.
It was a pretty exciting day for them. I think, we've for all of those impressive companies, there are many impressive companies. And sometimes it's hard to really communicate your vision in 7 minutes so that everyone can, really interpret it.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, it is about how you present.
Yeah,
These guys had.
I remember being particularly impressed with the guy from Shipwell, who seemed so poised, so confident, so in control. You could tell that he was very aware of exactly how long it was going to take him to talk, and he gave himself plenty of breathing room. And I think just like
Jason.
There's some, we can talk about one company's performance, whatever, what their app looks like, what the UI was, blah, 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 the problem they're trying to solve. But I think sociologically, the whole day is really interesting because you start to see common themes emerge.
Absolutely.
You start to see the common techniques. You see the sort of, I felt really energized by the pressure that was placed on these executives doing these very large presentations, that a lot of them had never done before. Seeing that kind of human element, what was at stake to them. We talked to people today who said, we are actively looking at either buying or building the technologies that we saw on stage. And so, it's very relevant, and I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah, what did you think, John? You covered round 3, which had 3 of the 4 winners.
Yeah, I know. That's why they were winners, because I covered them. So,
I think it was because it was after lunch and everybody's in a good mood.
I would say a couple of things. Interesting how much blockchain was involved. I don't know how many, though. Some of them made the case, why. I think whenever you're talking about a blockchain application, you always have to ask yourself, why is it better than a centralized database?
Sure.
And there were a couple that made that case. I will say it's just to take a note of caution here that at a crowd like this, these are going to be kind of the most cutting-edge people, and they're ready to go with great new technology tomorrow. This is a very fragmented industry. tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of companies out there.
It's like we're in the second or third inning of
trying
blockchain, everybody wants
to get them all in, whether it's blockchain or just a central database. A great app sitting on a central database can be very slow.
Right.
The thing that you're just not hearing that much is the automatic matching of bids and orders, which I think is, so you're still talking about human involvement, the human broker involvement, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And getting disintermediating that is kind of the real big step. But it could be that they provide a service that technology is just not necessarily going to produce. That maybe back to the earlier point. It's a commodity up to a point.
Right.
There are customer servicing that goes after that, and maybe it's not completely a commodity. Okay, you can trade your price exposure to it as a commodity, but just simply buying, matching up online, buyer and seller with no human involvement, maybe that's going to be tougher than everybody thinks.
Well, and to be fair, what our contracts are going to be based around is drive-in rates. Flatbed is much more complicated, specialized. Reefer, different kinds of commodities for that. Go into that, including food, including other kinds of goods. You can talk about hazmat. There's a lot of stuff that really needs kind of a white glove hand-holding approach that isn't. I don't think is it's not the low-hanging fruit of the drive-in full of pallets for Home Depot or whatever.
Well, I would say check out these companies. Congratulations again to Shipwell, Platform Science, JB Hunt, and Redwood Logistics. Slink was one of our Best in Show winners at Transparency, and they said that since that important day, they have tripled in size, and that was just 6 months ago. Boxlock, that was a Best in Show winner at Transparency, made an appearance on Shark Tank. So there's something to be said for being a Best in Show winner at one of our events.
Yeah, and so the other big contest that we need to talk about is Freight.Tech 25 and Freight.Tech 100. And just to give you a little bit of background on that, we wanted to find the most innovative companies in transportation technology. We wanted to create a transparent, open contest that was not pay to play. We weren't going to pick our favorites. So what we did was we opened up nominations to anyone. We said, nominate a company, tell us why you think it's the most innovative in transportation logistics. We got around 400 nominations. Many of these are duplicates, obviously. So we had an internal committee at FreightWaves, 9 people, vote on what they thought should be included in the 100.
Right.
And it was really simple. I was actually on that committee. We voted, and we didn't even have to argue about anything. It turned out that once you rank the companies with most votes to few, if you include all the companies with 5 votes or more, that was exactly 100. So that's what we used.
That's great to hear.
Then,
and it was peer reviewed.
Yeah,
essentially.
And so then we take those 100 companies, and we had a panel of 60 industry experts, people in finance, people in CEOs, all different kinds of equities analysts, people like that, vote on rank their top 25 out of that 100.
And we did reveal that at the conference, so you can check that out at FreightWaves.com.
Yeah, and I do want to go ahead and say who the winner was.
Yeah,
right.
So who were the top? We had a top 5 of the 25.
Yeah, so the winner was Amazon. That was number 1.
Shocker.
Number 2 was Project 44.
No, that is a shocker.
Congrats to Jet McCandles. I'm not shocked. Project 44 is awesome.
But they are. But I mean, after Amazon. This is big time.
Number 3 was Tesla with their electric semi-truck. Number 4, Convoy. Number 5, JB Hunt.
JB Hunt coming in strong.
I know. One of the oldest, thought of as one of the most traditional trucking companies in the country, invested $500 million in technology. And their app, JB Hunt 360, has more revenue per download than any other digital brokerage app out there.
Yeah, I hear they're just a super efficient company, and they treat their drivers well. They don't have the same kind of turnover that a lot of big carriers do.
Yeah, so
anyway,
check that out. It's
for sure.
Yeah, it's on FreightWaves. It was really cool. It was a big deal. Congratulations to all the companies who are in the top 25. You can be really proud of essentially, first being innovative, and secondly, the fact that your peers in the industry all agree that you are killing it.
Yes, and this has been a terrific and fun podcast here from Texas.
I just want to say one last thing. I just stepped away. Nobody noticed. But I had to take a call from our new hire in Australia. And I think it's important to note to the audience that we're going to be increasing our editorial staff by a third with new resources in London and Australia and Washington, among other places. So that's exciting.
Yeah, in the next 6 weeks, we're going from actually 50%, right? We're going from 8 to 12.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
50% in the next basically 6 weeks.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't even know that. Surprise.
Yeah, it's exciting. So expect an even faster, more overwhelming stream of data and news from FreightWaves.com.
In the logistics space.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and we also have a... So, anyway, well, let's... John, it's great to have you here, and let's do this again.
I'll be in Chattanooga more often, so...
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so we're going to do a 5 good minutes. Why don't you do it?
Okay, we're back, coming to you live from MarketWaves18 in Grapevine, Texas. And this time, we're here with Doug Waggoner, the CEO of Echo Global Logistics. Hey, Doug.
How you doing, John? Chad?
Great to have you here, Doug. Thanks for joining us.
And you're here to play 5 good minutes. So we talked a little bit, but we'll just ask you a few questions, a few direct questions. If you can sort of form a reasonably coherent answer that's shorter than 5 minutes, you will win a prize. Your choice of, I think you probably already got the backpack, but we also got copies of
Michael Lewis's Fifth Business.
The Fifth Risk.
Not Fifth Business, that's a different term.
Right. So let's try to get it in under 5 minutes, right?
Right, because you wouldn't want to lose out on that. Right?
I want the book.
Okay.
All right. So ready or not, here we go.
So tell us a little bit about how Echo got started, and the funding structure, and the growth story.
Sure. Well, our two founders started the company by putting in small investments themselves and building some prototype technology. They hired me in the first year. They're serial entrepreneurs. I was a transportation executive. And shortly after I joined, we got a $7 million venture investment. And we were able to live off of that $7 million infusion from about 2007 till about 2009. And in that time, we'd grown the revenues from $6 million our first year, $35 million our second year,
wow,
$90 million our third year, and then we jumped to about $260 million.
That's amazing.
The year that we did our IPO in 2009. So that was our second infusion of capital. We raised about $80 million. By the time we paid the banker fees and paid off a little debt, we had about $50 million left over. Of course, we were profitable at that time and generating cash. So, over the next 4 or 5 years, we continued to increase our cash and started to make M&A investments. And then we acquired a total of 20 companies in that time, totally with our cash, without taking on any additional debt or raising any additional capital, all the way up until 2015 when we bought Command Transportation. And then for that, we did raise some additional capital through an equity offering and some convertible debt.
Wow, that's a great story. I love Echo, and just seeing what you guys have done, like going public at a time when it's kind of difficult and expensive, like you said, is impressive. And
we were probably too small to go public in retrospect, but we pulled it off.
Yeah.
When you started at Echo, you had 35 employees. You said that now you're up to about 2,500. I'm really curious just to hear how your role has changed as Echo scaled, and what you spend your time on, what level of decisions that that occupy your days.
Yeah. Well, in the early days, you get involved with everything, and you roll up your sleeves and you do everything yourself. We were a startup company. We were very entrepreneurial. We changed things around a lot. If something, we would try something new, and if it worked, we would do it harder. If it didn't work, we'd stop and do something different. So it was a little bit frustrating on our employees because we were constantly pivoting the business, trying to find a better way and trying to be successful. Along the way, I remember some of the growing pains we had. There was a period in about 2008 where we couldn't pay our bills. The irony was, it wasn't because we didn't have money in the bank. We had plenty of money in the bank. We couldn't pay the bills because we were growing so fast that we couldn't open the mail fast enough to put our invoices into our AP system.
Sounds like a terrific problem to have. What a problem.
So, those were the good old days. I would call the owners of the trucking companies and promise them that we had money in the bank. And as soon as we could open the mail and get it processed, we'd send them a check. But the funny thing for me was, along the way, we kind of grew up as a company, and so we went from being that wild, wild west entrepreneurial startup to having to start to create some infrastructure and some, unfortunately, bureaucracy and things that people, want to steer clear of as long as they can. But as a bigger company, you need it to function. So, in the early days, we didn't have an HR department,
right.
And we had to implement HR, and so we've
gotta
added
have that HR. Yeah,
we just hired someone too. Finally.
2018 has been a standout year. What are you guys' plans and ambitions rolling into 2019? And what are your expectations for Echo?
Yeah, so we plan to continue our growth trajectory. We think we're a growth company. We have several levers that fuel our growth. One is continuing to add people. So we've got a hiring plan. We'll continue to add people, and as they get productive, they generate leverage in our operating model. We're going to continue to look at M&A and acquisition opportunities.
Okay.
We think there's a lot of good opportunities to do that. We're going to continue to build out our technology and continue to apply analytics and predictive analytics to run our business better, provide better service for our customers, and I think we're also, just going to win in the marketplace.
Nice. And you just won 5 good minutes.
All right.
So you get yourself
Congrats,
a copy of Michael Lewis's The Fifth Risk. So thanks for playing, Doug. It's great to meet you, man.
Yeah.
Continued good luck here. With what.
Thanks for making time for us this afternoon.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for
Well, hello and welcome to another 5 Good Minutes segment of What the Truck. We are here live, coming to you from MarketWaves18 in Grapevine, Texas, and I'm joined by Gregory Price and Jason Traff of Shipwell. Guys, congratulations on being a Best in Show winner. Holy cow. How was that? Was that exciting?
That was exciting. It's about halfway through the talk yesterday, someone started cheering, and it really threw me off. I wasn't expecting to get a mid-speech applause.
That helps, I think, with getting the votes, right? I don't know. That was persuasive. So it's really great to have you guys here. That was a fun party last night too, huh?
It was a fantastic party. I think I had the most fun.
Yes.
Well, you can never have too much fun, but I'm pretty sure I had the most fun.
Oh, you won that award too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're functioning and doing so well now today. In spite of having so much fun.
It took a challenge to get up. As Jason's my roommate at the Gaylord here, so it was a
More than
challenge.
normal. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, it's great to have you guys here. And, are you ready to run the gauntlet of 5 good minutes, Jason?
I think I'm as ready as I'm gonna be. So.
Okay, well, if you win, you win the magic T-shirt prize.
Ooh,
so that's always a good thing, right? Well, ready or not, here we come. Jason, tell us a little bit just about how the company Shipwell started.
Yeah, so both Greg and I were Texas boys that ended up going to MIT for some reason. But we both had different backgrounds in freight. So I ran an oil painting business out of Shenzhen, China that exported all over the world. And Greg did lots of other things. But at the time we had met, he had just left McKinsey, which is a top consulting company, where he had been doing supply chain consulting for Fortune 100 businesses. So he was talking about some of the largest businesses in the world and how they could spend billions of dollars a year on freight but still not know where things were. And those sounded a lot like the problems I had shipping paintings all over the world, but I was much smaller, and it was about a decade earlier.
Yeah.
And so we started looking, and we just we felt that some companies had really invested in turning supply chains into a competitive advantage, and they'd gotten really good at it. And a lot more companies just, I guess in short, needed some help. And so that's why we started Shipwell, to be the most seamless, most automated way for businesses to ship freight.
And so you guys started this in 2016.
We did.
So that seems like a really great time to have started that. I mean, how do you see data transforming the industry right now?
Data is the new currency. It's when I was at McKinsey & Company, I thought the real opportunity in this space was connecting all the players, digitizing supply chains, and then using that information to improve your operations. Most people are still in the Stone Ages. They're on pen and paper, pencil, or in Excel. People think that's a viable transportation tool. And so our idea was, I was doing this for a big company of basically doing risk models, forecasting, planning. It goes into every piece into a supply chain. It's probably one of the most rich sets of data for a business. And they don't have the talent, the people, or the technology to actually do it. But you know who does? The Amazons and the Walmarts and the Nordstroms and Targets of the world, because they were forced to do that, and the Home Depots. So now we're using that. That's the new oil. That's the new currency to actually turn and lubricate supply chains.
How many employees do you have right now?
So we've been growing really quickly, and we are hiring across all segments of our business. We are now up to 43 employees.
Okay, wow. What series are you in your fund?
Yeah, so we announced our Series A. We had a $10 million Series A that we announced, I think, about a month ago, led by Fifth Wall. And that's where we currently are.
Well, what are your
they're fantastic partners? They some of the their LPs are some of the largest warehouse owners in the world and leasers in the world. And we've got some exciting things that are going to be coming out in Q3, Q4, really focused in on, the complete supply chain picture.
Of 2018 or
2019?
Greg lives in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what that was my next question is, like, what's your vision rolling into 2019? What are your hopes and ambitions here?
Yeah, so, I mean, Shipwell's always been a managed freight platform for all the parties that ship freight to come into one place so that we can connect and automate their supply chain. So for us, we've historically focused on shippers and 3PLs, but carriers have always been sort of a valid first-class user as well. We're small companies, so we had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Going into the next year, carriers will become an increasingly larger focus, where we're able to give them tools to run their fleets more effectively, a dispatch platform, ELD connections, and really sort of get them networked into the broader supply chain picture across the U.S.
Wow. Okay, so across the U.S., or do you have any global ambitions?
We'll go to Canada too, and Mexico. So we're really primarily in North America. Stay tuned for where we go next. But we've done such a great job in over the road, and our APIs and software and platforms being used by lots of folks. They tell you, well, what can you do for me in China? What can you do over here?
Right.
As it turns out, supply chains are complex and global.
Supply chains are complex, global, and a nightmare. And so our moonshot and our vision for where this goes super long term is that as a business and as a vendor, I would like you to go on the Be Able to platform, have complete visibility, and you should be able to book something from Shenzhen and all the way to Cincinnati, Ohio. Your end customer knows about it. Every step along the way knows where it's at, when's it going to get it to me, and you've got complete transparency there. But you run your business how it runs today, and that's kind of our moonshot and where we're going.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys killed it. I'm not going to pepper you with another question if you've won the gauntlet. Anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, we're excited to be here. We're excited about what FreightWaves and BID is doing for the industry, and we're honored to be a part of that. We're an agent of change. And that's a tough position to be in.
Well, this was so much of our demo yesterday, right? Was the automatic check calls. The idea of, great, we can all live in the future of a fully networked automatic supply chain, but Shipwell is also taking practical steps today to get people to that world.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys. And that's it from us. And we have we got
people to meet, beers to drink. Signing off from MarketWaves18.
As always, we go into more detail about each of the topics we've talked about today on our website, FreightWaves.com. We will continue to publish this podcast weekly, so be sure to subscribe to What the Truck on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, make sure to leave us a review to let us know what you think of our new podcast. That'll do it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week on What the Truck.